This is where Seymour starts the day. Melissa in the Morning on WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
I am really excited for the first time to welcome in studio the LTKE Law. We have Stephen Irante here, as well. Irante. I almost said it wrong. Oh, you weren't going to correct me, Stephen. Oh, my goodness.
Not yet.
Wait, right? Yeah. Richard's like, give it some time. And we have Rich Lynch here. Guys, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Love to be here. Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. Stephen, you're doing okay over there?
Great time here. I've been here before. This will be even better. I'm
very glad to have you guys here and to talk about some of the things that you focus on, some of the cases here in Connecticut. First of all, how long has LTKE law been around?
Since 1955 was started by Richard's father.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. So you started, practicing law at what, 5 years old? What would you say?
He did bring me to the office at 5 and continued to bring me so much that I didn't want to become a lawyer.
Fair.
I actually studied marine science.
Wow.
Got a job in the Bahamas, worked in Florida, and decided law was a better gig after getting paid $3 an hour in the Bahamas.
There it is.
And $10 an hour in Florida. So
isn't that always the case?
It was a good career move for me.
I love that. Well, I'm really
He's going
glad.
back to the Bahamas now for $3 an hour.
Yeah, right. There you go. Right. You know what? It all comes full circle. Got to land that plane somewhere. I think that's awesome. And the cases that you guys do are really unique. I mean, talk about just some of probably the most common cases you guys get at your law firm.
Well, from the civil side, Richard will tell you about the criminal side. We do a lot of medical malpractice. That's probably what we spend most of our time on. But, of course, typical car accidents, slip and falls are very common. And what we're going to talk about today are dog bite cases, because that's a little different and near and dear to everybody's heart. I mean, we're pretty well connected with the Cosgrove Animal Center in Brantford. And so, we have a connection. And I have dogs. Richard has dogs. A lot of people have dogs. And there's a lot to owning a dog that I think the average person and the average insurance agent that you buy insurance from do not consider and do not advise people appropriately.
So I got to meet them both in the kitchen of our studios before coming out here. And I said, Stephen, I have a story for you. So we also are dog people. We have much dogs. We have a lot of rescues, 3 currently. But we've had experiences with a rescue dog in the past, no longer with us. But we had a rescue dog where we have a fenced-in yard, right? And we were having not me, but my mom and dad were having a birthday party, and a child opened the gate, walked in, and the dog bit them. And it was this whole thing. And I'm curious how you handle dog cases in general, because I feel like I'm surprised we don't hear more about dog bites. It happens. I think we forget at the end of the day that we domesticated wild animals, essentially. I love my dogs. They are my children. But it is amazing that you don't hear about dog bite cases more. Maybe you do, though. Maybe you hear about them a lot.
Look, they're not as common as car accidents, obviously, but they are fairly common. A lot of them, people are walking their dogs at a dog park. The dogs, off leash, they start to fight. The owner sticks a hand in trying to get the dogs apart.
Sure.
There are a lot of cases like that.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand is when you own a dog, whether you own your own house or you own an apartment, the law in Connecticut makes you strictly liable for whatever your dog does. And what that means is most people think about, negligence. You didn't have it on the leash. You didn't train it properly, something along those lines. This law really takes that all out of play and says, look, you own a dog. If your dog damages property or person, you're responsible, with only 2 exceptions. The 2 exceptions are if the person was teasing or tormenting the dog, which obviously if you do that and you get bit, you kind of deserve what you got. And the other part is if you're trespassing. And I think most people think of trespassing, well, it's my property, you step on my property, you're a trespasser. That's not the way the law looks at it. The law says a trespasser, as far as the dog bite statute is concerned, is somebody who's on your property with some ill intent. They're going to vandalize your property, they're going to rob you,
wow.
They're going to assault you, etc. So what they're protecting is, I'm going to send you flowers. And, the flower guy comes to deliver flowers and he gets bit by your dog. Well, he's not a trespasser. You call to have Amazon delivery. Amazon person comes on. The mailman comes on your property, etc. The lawyers call them business invitees. They have a right to be on the property. And so, a person who wanders on your property, you're still going to be responsible if your dog bites them. So what
It's not a lot of protections in place for dog owners.
No, and the corollary to that is if you own a home, you're going to have homeowners insurance. If you have an apartment, you should have renters insurance. But the fine print, you have to be very careful because insurance companies, a lot of them won't insure dogs at all.
Wow.
Or sometimes they'll only insure them up to a certain amount, let's say $25,000 or $50,000 of damage. And some dogs they won't insure at all. If you have a Rottweiler or a Pit Bull or something.
The species. Sure,
the
I've heard about that.
Mm-hmm. The size of the dog has an effect. You may have to buy a rider on your policy to cover your dog. But if you don't do that, and I can't talk about it because the case is still pending, but I can say a little bit about it. Just finished trying a case where the homeowner had only $300,000 homeowner's policy. He had a dog, German Shepherd, 100-pound dog. Woman got very badly injured, $250,000 in bills.
Wow.
And he had a house with no mortgage on it. He's about to retire. His life savings now become at risk in this case because of the way the statute's written. And I am sure his insurance agent or whoever he dealt with never really counseled him appropriately that, look, you have a big dog that could injure somebody and $300,000 is not enough. You should have an umbrella policy that covers you above and beyond that. And umbrella policies are not that expensive. For less than $1,000 a year, he could get $1 million or more coverage.
Wow.
And he should have that because, things happen. Nobody means for these things to happen.
Sure.
But they happen. And, the injuries can be devastating as they were in this particular case.
Yeah, it's certainly not as simple as just a dog bite. So you can understand needing that kind of representation. Again, you were hearing from Stephen from LTKE Law. But I also want to hear from Rich in talking about, we're getting into the summertime and you do a lot of focus as well on DUI cases.
Yes, we do. We handle all sorts of criminal cases, but we do have a lot of DUI representation. The most important thing I would say, the best way to avoid getting involved with a DUI case is don't drink while you're impaired, whether it's alcohol or marijuana or drugs. A lot of people think because they have a prescription for medicine that it's okay for them to drive. That's not the case.
That's so true. Even the idea of if you're going in for a procedure and it's an in and out, the amount of times that people will drive themselves to the procedure and expect to drive themselves home. And I think to myself, no, I would get a ride. I would always get a ride. That's so true.
Always get a ride. If you get medication, read the label. It tells you, stay away from machinery. Don't drive a car. A lot of people think, I may be taking Percocet, but I have a prescription. Doctor said I could take this medication. And then when they get pulled over, the police will do a breath test. If it shows 0, they'll take a urine test, which will show the drugs that are in the system, including marijuana. And so always the best way is don't drive impaired. If you do get pulled over and you're impaired, be polite to the police. Always be polite. You don't want to upset police officers. They're just doing their job. And you have the right not to do all the testing, but you should give them your name, share your license information. Don't claim you're a sovereign citizen and claim that you're traveling and you're not really operating a motor vehicle. This is the new thing. The sovereign citizen says, you have no jurisdiction over me. I could do whatever I want. That's a stupid argument. Makes police
Keeping my lawyer, you're fun, Rich. See, I told you were fun. It wasn't just Stephen. I knew you were fun.
But you're angering the police, which you don't want to do.
Right.
And you're angering the judge. All right? So cooperate up until a point. And then say, I want to talk to a lawyer before you do anything. If you're intoxicated, if you're impaired. If you're not impaired, do the test. Right? I have some people, they get arrested and they go, I wasn't drinking. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't using drugs. I say, well, why did you refuse the test? That's the one way you can prove that you're not intoxicated. Mm-hmm. So if you've done something wrong, there's nothing wrong about cooperating with the police.
I love that.
But if you know you're impaired, be polite, ask to talk to a lawyer. Call LTKE.
And the other thing, too, it's so interesting, Rich, as you were talking about, checking medication. It's funny, right? So when you get your medication in the mail, you check to see that you should, eat breakfast before you have that and make sure that you're hydrated before that. But we never check it to make sure you can drive on it. I always find that fascinating. Like, we know if we should eat or drink on it, if we should stop after 6 o'clock. Like, we know all that. But we never check the driving,
right?
Which is really interesting.
So I would say presume you can't drive. And if you're thinking of driving, check the label. Call your doctor. If it's a business hour, call your doctor. They don't want you driving intoxicated. We don't want you driving intoxicated. But if you do get pulled over, you need a lawyer, call us.
Yeah. So if people want to contact you guys, learn more about LTKE law, where do they go?
203-333-3333.
Literally just threes.
All the threes.
Just all the threes. They all went to LTKE.
Correct.
I love that. So 203-333-3333 or go to LTKE.com.
Absolutely.
I love that. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in studio. I certainly love your advice, and I learned a lot. Especially, I should probably go back and look at my insurance policies with the dogs. I don't know, Stephen, you got me all nervous now. Thank you guys so much for being in studio. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Melissa in the Morning.
WICC.